What does it take these days to drive a man home if you're the Rays? Like Uber, yellow cab? What do you need, Steve?
Is this deja vu all over again?
Oh, my God.
From last season?
Oh, my God. Like, I've seen this movie, and it just keeps replaying, only this time outdoors at Steinbrenner Field, which we'll get to in a minute, by the way. Some weird stuff happening with fly balls out there
Yes.
that I cannot quite explain, including an older gentleman catching them over the fence out there in the outfield, but we'll get to that. Here's the bottom line. Like, these guys cannot, will not, have not gotten a clutch hit, and not even a clutch hit, just move the baseball, right? Like, it's a simple game, as they said in Bull Durham. You know, you throw the ball, you hit the ball. And they had a man on third. So the Rays lose again, and this is all too common refrain. This time to
five in a row now?
5 in a row to the Angels. They're 4-6. They've through their first 10 games, and for the first time, by the way, since 2020. And I used to think 2020 was just yesterday. That's like 5 years ago.
I know. Where did the time go?
I know. It's like, oh, wait a minute. It's 2025. So that's been a while. But, you get another pretty well-pitched game. Shane Paz was solid. 7 innings, gives up 2 runs, the contested home run. Not much else. He struck out 6, just allowed just 3 hits. He did walk 4, which is probably not great. But man, just needing a run, and getting guys to third base in the final 3 innings and not scoring them. And not only that, but just
third base with no outs.
No outs. Right. Exactly. No outs on third base, and you can't get a guy home.
In the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th.
Right. I mean, any of those guys score on any mode at all. Wild pitch, fly ball. God forbid you hit one in the air to the outfield. God forbid you make contact. And for my money, I was thinking this too. I don't know if you were thinking about this, like in the 9th inning, right, runner on third. Taylor Walls has a bunt, and
well done bunt too, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. And they're playing in, like they're in on the corners for whatever reason. The guy, the third baseman for the Angels, kind of botched the play, but
he thought the pitcher was going to get it, and he was going to go cover third and try to get the
back,
out there.
Yeah. So anyways, perfectly executed bunt. Now you got first and third. You know what I thought of in that situation when they'd been struggling so badly to get the guy home?
Mm-hmm.
What would Joe do? Remember how many times that first and third situation was almost undefensible, what do you say? When you would just square the guy around and make any kind of contact at all with a guy on a safety squeeze.
They typically didn't do it with no outs.
No, and for good reason, because anything scores them. But the way this team is going, man, I'm just thinking, wow, what do you got to do? And they just weren't making contact. Look, you had the right guy out there. You had Brendan Lau up. He strikes out on a pitch over his head. It's hard to watch. It's been this way now for a while, and I'm starting to feel for Kevin Cash. I probably shouldn't, but I am. It's early in the season. Maybe they win the American League. Who the hell knows? But Kevin Cash has had to stand there now for how many years? And at the end of the game, and he was kind of like, yeah, we talked about this all during spring training. We thought we were kind of past it. We just, got to get guys home and getting guys on base. We're just not getting the clutch hit or the moving around. We got to move the baseball. And they didn't move the baseball. That was the thing. Like, you didn't put any pressure on the defense, really. Man, it's hard to watch because the Angels are not a great team by any means. You still have Mike Trout. You still got some pieces. But with this 13-game homestand now, this is no joke, right? Like you have to take advantage of these early home games and this early long homestand, because Lord knows it turns the other way later in the summer when the heat and the rain is bad here. You're going to be on the road for that many games. And
like a 4-6 stretch is going to happen in a regular season, whether you're a good team, a bad team, you're the Dodgers, whatever. Like, it's going to happen.
Season's not over, but I mean.
But the hard part is 7 of those 10 games were at home.
That's right.
Only 3 on the road.
You don't get those back. Yeah.
Right. And that's where, so, you're only 4-3 in your 7 games at home. That's okay.
Yeah.
But, we've talked about how this team's going to need to stack up wins early because of the daunting road schedule for the middle of the season.
Right.
This 13-game homestand is great now, but that means you're going to have long road trips come July and August. And there are some long ones.
Oh, yeah, there has to be. I mean, you can't have a 13-game homestand without making that up somewhere. And I get the concept. I get the idea that you want to get them out, avoid as many rain delays for both teams as you can going forward. But that means they got to play well now, and they're not. And look, they got injuries. I mean, this is the thing. 2 of the 3 starting outfielders are out. You're getting,
and then one got ejected tonight. So
yeah, Morel. Boy, what an eventful day he had, huh?
Have you seen a better bat flip for a double?
For a ball that hits the wall? No. I think he thought it was gone. What do you think?
Maybe.
He got a hold of that one. Oh, it's off the wall. Yeah. But Junior Caminero hit his first home run. That
was good to see because this team's not hitting enough home runs. Although, to be honest, the ball's not carrying it, Steinbrenner, like we thought it might. And maybe by summertime, when the humidity picks up and the temperature
and the wind
and all
direction
that,
changes, you know,
it'll start flying. But right now, it's not.
Right. No, the ball is not. It's not a hitter's park at all, and I think they're probably surprised by that a little bit. The other thing that's going on is it's something weird, man. It's something that they're not adjusted to yet. And I think it has something to do with the lights or the height of the lights, or
no, it definitely is. I mean,
Major League Baseball, illumination versus everything else, because you'll get what's called a big league fly ball, right? And the problem is when that ball exceeds the reach of the lights and that goes above the towers, because these this is a minor league stadium and they're fastened on poles, not on the top of a third deck or something. That ball is going up into the night sky. They're losing it. Like we saw 2 fly balls, one for each team. Trout lost one.
Yeah, and badly. I mean, it was way over his head.
Both of them lost it by like 10 feet. You know what I mean? They were nowhere near it. And that can only be that the ball is disappearing into the night sky when it, rises above the lights. And by the time they track it, they're nowhere near it. And I think, something they don't have not had to deal with very often is wind, trying to figure out where the ball is blowing, and how much the wind will have an effect on it. But, for all the, rightful disdain of, the catwalks and things like that. And I don't know how anybody caught a fly ball in the Trop. Their adjustment period is still ongoing with this thing. Mm-hmm. And it's not like you can really fix it, because you're not going to suddenly have a third deck, at Steinbrenner Field, or, raise the light standards somehow so that, the lights are higher. It's interesting to see it happen though. Like I didn't realize that would be a thing, but it's a thing. It's something they're going to have to adjust to, deal with.
Well, we knew at dusk it was going to be an issue.
Yes,
with how low the lights are. We didn't realize at night, and we're seeing it at even once it's pitch black, like Mike Trout's was
black.
It was well after dark. So
yeah, that ball, because they're major league hitters, and because you always say, well, that's a major league pop up, right? And it's going into orbit, and it's going out of sight and out of the strength of the lights to illuminate it, and then they lose it on the way down at some point. Then it reappears, and it's too late. I didn't anticipate seeing it like that, but we've seen it now a number of times. So this is going to be something to watch, a bit of a story. And I don't know how you would really adjust to that, because you either can track it or there comes a point where you can't, not sure what they can do.
Yeah. But back to Morel too.
Oh yeah.
And had he not got thrown out,
right.
And that's a bad play by him. And for several reasons. One, you want his bat in the game and everything else. Although he, after he hit that double earlier, should have been a triple. Ended up on third because of a bad throw by Tim Anderson. But
yeah,
they're short-handed in the outfield.
Yeah, they're down 2 outfielders.
DeLuca's now on the IL. Palacios is on the IL.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Lowe is on the IL.
Mm-hmm.
You're short-handed. You've already used all your bench. So you get thrown out. Now Caballero has to go to left field.
Right.
You have Coco Montez playing third base. Gets a grounder to him. He bobbles it. They don't get a double play. They only get the out at first.
Yeah.
had they got a double play there, or even just got the lead runner,
Get
if you
the
field
lead
that
runner.
cleanly, if
Now you
Caballero
gotta.
fields that cleanly, that run
Mhm.
doesn't score. Now it's still tie going to the bottom of the ninth. Not you're losing.
That's right. He hurt his
Changes
team.
everything. Him getting thrown out cost them the game. Now maybe if you go to the ninth tied, maybe you go to extras and lose it still. But that ball probably gets fielded cleanly by Caballero at third, who would have gone in for Caminero at that point.
And I guess he was, arguing balls and strikes pretty much all night, and it looked like perhaps he had walked at one point in his final at bat, but that pitch wasn't that far off the plate. Like I've seen that called a strike many times over,
right?
And then he swings through the next pitch, and he's so frustrated by the previous strike that he slams the bat or whatever he does to get an ejection. It's just you're just hurting your team, man. It's just like hit the ball somewhere. You had another strike. You're going to get bad calls. It's part of the game. Nobody likes it, but I mean, you can't go out there and just be selfish and hurt your ball club. It's a bad look. So I don't know where they are. I'll tell you something else too and I know he's slumping right now. Yandy Diaz to me looks like he aged 5 years in the offseason.
He looks just like the beginning of last season. Lost
is right. That's a good description.
He figured it out last year and turned it around. Had a good second half of the year. Really about mid-May he started turning it on.
Here's a question.
Looks like he's not in sync at all.
No, his foot's not getting down. Like there's something with his swing that's off. Here's my question about it too: is that they've been using him primarily as a DH, and in the past, not that he's a Gold Glove first baseman, but he did play defense, right? He did go out there every inning. You're in more of a baseball. I think one of the hardest things to do is to DH. I could never do something like that. Like all you're doing is focusing on your next at bat.
Well, look at Rafael Devers.
Yeah.
In Boston, he's DHing and he's awful this year.
Yeah. I mean, there's a rhythm to playing the game that you played since you were a kid, and that is, you go out there and you can contribute in some way, even if I get up there and I strike out my first time up, okay, now I got to now my sure focus is on playing defense, making the plays that come to me. Maybe I can help my team with the glove, right? And so you got something else to kind of concentrate on, at least for that half inning. It just gets you into the game. If all I have to think about is my next at bat or my last swing, and I'm just, I think DHing is a really, really difficult position sometimes. But for Yandy, you saw him out there having fun at first base, talking to guys, the big smile, all of that. Now he's just, he is lost at the plate. But at one point, like you also wonder, like, he can't run, okay, at all. So there's clearly something there. The other night he loafed to first base and got thrown out on a ball that was
basically
bobbled.
told him not to run, though.
They've told him not to run. Yeah, they've told him not to run.
If you don't have to, because he's had the groin issues, he's had the hamstring issues,
yes.
he's had leg issues.
Yes.
So if legging it out isn't going to beat something,
right?
Like don't run, slow down. We're okay. We'd rather take an extra out every once in a while
and not lose you on the IL. Yeah,
right. Keep you healthy than push.
But you know what I mean? Like he looks, he's playing as if he's 50 years old. Like that spark is not there. Obviously, he's in a slump right now, and it can change overnight, I suppose. But I think the DHing part of it is tough too for him. Like that would be a tough thing. Like you're DHing every night. Like I don't know. I think that's an adjustment as well. Where you're just dwelling on your last at bat. But it doesn't look good. Like the lineup doesn't look good. It's you're playing a couple guys that began the season in Durham, and quite frankly, they're playing as well as anybody on your ball club right now. Where would they be without their two young guys? So, yeah, it's a rough start. Look, maybe they win the next 12 at home. I don't know. They've got Atlanta's, coming up. They've been playing poorly.
They're 1-8 going into Tuesday night's play. I didn't see what they did tonight as we're taping this, but
and then you've got Boston and the Yankees at the tail end of this homestand, which the Yankees will be interesting just because they're coming to their own ballpark and get to be in the visitors clubhouse. So that'll be different, but I don't know. I'm going to be out there. I think I might be out there on Friday. We'll see. I'm anxious to see what a game is like, at the stadium and everything. But man, they've got to just frustrating. I mean, you talk to Kevin Cash, every day. It's sort of the same thing. It's like, man, I thought we were past this. We got to move the baseball. We've got to find ways to move the ball, in those situations. And until they do, they're going to come up short. I mean, credit the Angels for holding on and getting out of a tough ninth inning. I mean, you got first and third, nobody out, and you've had the previous two innings you stranded runners at third as well. That's a pretty good job by your bullpen. I mean, not so good getting guys on that early, but working out of it. That's a pretty good job. So we'll see what the Rays do. Going to talk about the Lightning and what their opportunity is after a big result in their favor happened overnight. But first, have you been to Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall? What's keeping you? You know where International Plaza Mall is, right there on West Shore, and I guess it would be Spruce and Boy Scout out there. And why we want you to go is the Breitling Company has been in business now for over 140 years. You're talking about the greatest Swiss watches in the world. They've been at International Plaza for more than 5 years. And you go in there, you're going to love the customer service. They're used to dealing with celebrities, professional athletes. You're going to see a few Buccaneers players or two. And more than that, you're going to find a great collection of watches, the Navatimers, the Chronomat watches, which they're known for. Also, they've been promoting their 104th year anniversary of the NFL with a limited edition of all 32 team watches. These watches are Chronomat watches. They got the team colors on the face. They've got the logo. While supplies last, they're absolutely beautiful. Probably go on our website and you might be able to see the Buccaneers version of that watch. Also, watches for your wife, for your girlfriend, women's watches that are sports watches. These things are durable. If your wife or girlfriend's on the go like mine, might bang these things around a little bit, but they'll hold up very well, and they got all the different colorful wristbands that you can choose from to boot. It's Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. Make sure you get down there and tell them that you heard about all of it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. All right, well, the Lightning got the result they wanted, man. This is coming down to the wire. They could finish first, which I think, Steve, is not insignificant if they can pull this off.
Well, a win tonight in regulation over Toronto, who's in town, coming off a back-to-back. They lost at Florida Tuesday night. The win in regulation means the Maple Leafs and Lightning both will have 98 points, but the Lightning would have the tiebreaker of regulation wins, 40-39. So first place is on the line tonight at Amalie Arena.
Outstanding.
And after tonight, there'll be 4 games left to play.
That's outstanding, to put yourself in this position and hopefully be able to finish the job. I still think it matters. Home ice at some point during the playoffs may matter in a Game 7 situation. Who you draw in the first round could matter, right? Would like to see them just get out of the first round and see what they can do after that. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, their opponents are basically going to be Toronto, Florida, or Ottawa.
Toronto or Ottawa, yeah.
Yeah. Right now, if you win the division, you're going to play Ottawa, although they're right on the heels of Florida. I think they're 4 points back. Florida winning tonight helped that. But, yeah, it's basically going to be one of those 3 teams they're going to play. Those 4 are going to play each other. Montreal is almost locked into the second wild card. They haven't clinched yet, but they're getting close. But they're pretty far back from Ottawa. It'd be tough for them to catch. So Montreal's going to play Washington, who's going to be the number 1 seed in the East. And then the Toronto, Florida, Tampa Bay, Ottawa, those 4 will all play each other in that half the bracket.
This is kind of Ovechkin's world again we're living in right now.
Yeah. I mean, Washington's had a phenomenal season.
Yeah.
They're all the top history team in the East, and yeah.
No, the East is tough. Do you think the East is better than the West this year? Deeper?
I think it's deeper. I think the teams at the top of the West may be better than the teams at the top of the East. I think Winnipeg's really good. I think Dallas is really good. I think
They've all kind of had
good.
their runs, you know what I mean? Like
Vegas
Winnipeg
is
started
good.
out great. Yeah.
Yeah. Winnipeg's probably going to win the President's Trophy.
I mean, get out of the East is the key, but I don't know. In the past, it seemed like the East was more heavily weighted with better teams. I'm not
I
sure.
think
I don't know if that's the case.
I think the East had the stronger teams at the top. I think the West may be that now, but I think the East is deeper.
Deeper. Okay. Yeah,
I think
that's
there's
fair.
more good teams in the East.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, I mean, I like the way the Lightning are playing. They just got to finish the deal, and then once you get in the postseason with a healthy Andre Vasilevsky and all of that
The Stanley Cup
changes they've
playoffs
made on
start in 10
defense,
days.
it's incredible. Yeah, it's
Saturday
incredible.
the 19th will be the first day of the playoffs.
Yeah, and I love it because there's a game every other night for as long as they're alive, which can last about 9 weeks it seems. How long does
Yeah.
series?
I mean, it's about 2 weeks around is what you
Yeah.
kind of average. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it'll be mid-June
Mid-June. It's
when the
incredible,
Stanley
man.
Cup's given out, most likely.
Guys start in October and they're still skating and hitting each other. But yeah, the hardest, the most fascinating postseason to watch, I think, and certainly the hardest to accomplish. But man, the Lightning put themselves right back in this position again, which is a credit to their franchise, to John Cooper, to all those guys.
And there's some significant milestones too coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Cooch is tied for the lead in points,
Right.
with Nathan McKinnon. He's got one extra game to play, so in theory, he's kind of got the advantage.
Seat. Yeah.
Going into it. I'm actually checking. I don't think Colorado played. Oh, Colorado's actually playing as we record this. So
okay,
McKinnon got 1 point, so he's up by a point. But Cooch will have 2 games left to play, 2 extra games. So, but Cooch is also nearing 1,000 points.
Could he get it this year?
He's 12 away.
Really? Wow. Huh. That's something, man.
With 5 games to play.
Yeah, he could do it. He could definitely do it. The way he piles up points, that's an incredible record, for where he's at. I mean,
he's
career.
at 115 points this season and 988 in his career. So,
and where does he rank in the points this year?
He's tied with Nathan McKinnon now took the lead.
McKinnon took the lead tonight. Okay, gotcha.
But Cooch has 2 extra games to play.
Gotcha.
So McKinnon's got 3 games left. Cooch has 5.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about that. If I were a Cooch fan, man, I think that he could take it. Definitely take the title. But I'm looking forward to the hockey playoffs. Not so much the late nights, but it's just the greatest postseasons out there. Hey, I had a chance to write a story in the Tampa Bay Times on tampabay.com. Check it out. It's about the Bucs. Of course, we got the draft coming up in 16 days, 15, 16 days, whatever that is. This is not about the draft per se, but it is interesting what some of the things that Todd Bowles said. It's going back to the owners' meetings last week. We all know that, and look, football is a sport that injuries are baked in the cake, right? It's just part of it. You can't have a collision sport like that with those athletes as big and as fast as they are without guys getting hurt. I mean, guys get hurt every week, and you just don't want to have a run on a position. You got to be lucky. I mean, the year that the Bucs, both years that the Bucs won Super Bowls, they didn't have anybody hurt. I think Booger McFarland might have missed the championship game, or certainly the Super Bowl when he got hurt. The COVID year, really very few, if any, players were out, even with COVID. So they were fortunate, and I think that's what it takes to win a Super Bowl. To be honest with you, you got to have some luck. But man, last year they didn't have any luck. They were one of the more injured teams in the National Football League, and I really think that was a big part of 2024. I mean, it started with Antoine Winfield Jr. getting hurt in the season opener, right, when he hurt his foot, and then later with some friendly fire, he hurt his knee. He missed 8 games. He was basically invisible in some of the ones he played. For a guy that was the highest paid defensive back in the league, he only had 2 sacks, a fumble recovery for a touchdown that was against New Orleans. That's his highlights. I'm done. Like, that was it. So we talked to Todd Bowles at the owners' meeting. He says that Winfield is training his butt off, and expects him to come back, in the best shape he's ever been, and sort of manifest himself getting back to what he was a year ago. But I did some digging, and this is according to RotoWire. The Bucs tied for 7th in the league last season in games missed due to injury. They had a combined 201 games missed due to injury. Of the top 10 most injured teams, and this is somewhat surprising, 5 of them qualified for the postseason. And that includes the Lions, who had the number one seed in the NFC, despite they had the most games missed, 254, right? But of those teams that reached the playoffs, despite being in the top 10 with injuries, none of them got past the division round. And that's it right there in a nutshell. You're not going to go far if your guys are hurt, And for the Bucs, they had, obviously a lot of significant injuries, but a lot of it was hamstrings. And you're talking about Mike Evans. He missed parts of 4 games. You had Bucky Irving, Graham Barton, both Jamel Dean and Zion McCollum, Mike Edwards, the safety, Josh Hayes, Sterling Sharp, J.J. Russell, and even the long snapper, Evan Deckers. All those guys had hamstring injuries, and many of them, if not, they're either one of two things. They're guys on offense that play receiver that have to run a lot in practice, or they're defensive backs that have to cover guys who have to run a lot in practice. And I don't think it's a coincidence that this was the year, because when Liam Cohen got here, he said, we're going to have motion on every play. Guys going to have to be in shape. They're going to have to run a lot during the week and all of that. Now, Bowles said some of them were just freak injuries. And he goes, we're trying to find ways to be better practice-wise. And so they're looking at everything. He said, I don't know how we're going to get any better than we were the last 2 years, but we're going to tweak some things. And they're all looking into it, from the training staff, the strength staff, nutritionists, all that, trying to tweak up whether you need to warm up more or warm up separately, or, run certain things and change the drills around. I just think that they have to be mindful of the fact that, you play and work every day in this heat. I remember last year in December, I was out there and it was pushing 90 degrees in December. And I thought back to August and I thought, man, these guys have had this cumulative, beat down of sun. And everybody's theory is when you come down here and you're from up north, oh, what a disadvantage, you got to play in the heat. Look, they're hydrated when they arrive. For the Bucs who live and work in this stuff, a lot of times they're dehydrated before they get to Sunday. And that can cause some of those soft tissue injuries and things like that. So they need to get on the right side of it. They're looking into everything. Injuries have always and will always be the big assassins of every team. Show me a Super Bowl team, I'll show you a team that overcame some injuries and in the end probably weren't injured at the key positions to the point where they couldn't function. But you got to have some luck, and then you also got to make your own luck. And for whatever reason, Todd Bowles has not made use of the indoor facility. Like, that was a thing that Bruce Arians did all the time. He would get those guys out of the sun. Now they do their walkthroughs in there and they do some things. Oh, the danger of practicing in there is the artificial surface. It's dangerous because, it grips the legs different and, a lot harder, obviously, and whatnot. But there's got to be a mama bear in there. There's got to be something just right in terms of, how much these guys are exposed to the heat and et cetera, and then getting them out of it. I don't know if that's part of the solution or not, but they're going to look at it. So, yeah, Bucs got to be healthy. I can't remember the last team that was decimated by injuries that won a Super Bowl. It seems like the teams that win it have their pieces, whether that was Philadelphia last year, certainly when the Bucs won, with Tom Brady, that crew was together. And when they lost, they weren't, they weren't. And that doesn't include Jordan Whitehead, who, if you remember, got in that horrific head-on collision accident because he was running late on the Saturday before the playoff game that they wound up losing, and he ended up getting released because of a non-football injury with his neck. So a lot of factors in whether you win or lose football games, none bigger in my mind than whether you can avoid the injury bug. And these guys have not done it, and they have to figure out how they can. All right, the Rays will continue their series, see if they can push across a run or two against the Angels. The Lightning are going to host Toronto. The Maple Leafs, big game in terms of the standings and whether the Lightning can take over first place here in the next short bit. That could be interesting as we come down to the end of the NHL season. Make sure you get over to Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Go see our friends. Check out the watches, the beautiful Navitimers, the Chronomats, the NFL 104th anniversary watches, all 32 teams represented while supplies last. It's Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Please tell them that you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. For Steve Versnick, I'm Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.